iHasCupquake, welcome to another episode of DIYGG Goodies. I don't know if you guys have seen, but I have seen these really awesome pixelated cutting boards, and I was thinking, I wonder if I can make that on my own. And I do have these cubes that it looks like the person uses, so I decided to give it a try. So since this is a cutting board and it's going to be in contact with our food that we're going to eat, we want to be sure that everything we use is safe to consume. So you're gonna need these 1-inch cubes. I will put the link in the description where I bought mine. So I found this really awesome glue. It's Titebond 3. It's waterproof and FDA approved for indirect food contact. So this is completely safe to use for your cutting boards. And to tint the wood, I am going to be using edible food dyes. So I'm going to be using the food gels. I'm going to be using black, brown, and orange. You're also going to need some sandpaper. I would recommend using a sand machine if you have one, because this made it 10 times easier. So you're gonna need a protective surface for your butcher block, and I found this really awesome butcher block conditioner. It's food grade mineral oil and has natural waxes, so it's the perfect sealant for your cutting board. Since we want the wood to be super tight, I would recommend using clamps. So to stain your wood blocks, you're going to need a paintbrush to paint on the food coloring, and I am using a paintbrush that I only use for food, so make sure you don't use this for acrylics or paints or anything that's not edible. To make things easier, I printed out a picture and drew on it so I wouldn't make any mistakes when I'm assembling it. So you will need 66 black blocks, 70 brown blocks, 12 normal wood colors, and 108 medium brown blocks, which gives us a total of 256 cubes that will be needed for this project alone. I decided to paint the cubes after we're done assembling it, because since we're going to sand it, we'll just be sanding away all of our hard work. So glue a 16 by 16 inch square of blocks together. I am just starting from the top row and working across, then moving down to each row. Make sure you press these firmly together, and you kind of want to have the squares line up. Some are bigger than others, so it's kind of hard to do that. Just line up with the top, and you may have cracks, but you want to minimize the amount of cracks that you have, because since this is going to be handling food and you're going to be washing it in water, you don't want any food getting stuck in the cracks. So what I did is I did have some cracks after I was done gluing it together. Also, I forgot to mention, put a piece of wax paper underneath before you start working so that it doesn't stick to your surface, and it's really easy to remove. So once I'm finished gluing it all together and it's all dry, I went in with the glue and placed some in all of the cracks, because we want the surface to be completely smooth. And yes, some of the glue, once it dries, will look bumpy, but we're gonna go ahead and sand that away afterwards. So fill all the cracks with glue, make sure there's no open spaces, and let that dry. Now that it's completely dry, we're going to sand it away. I also sanded the edges and the corners so they're not sharp and they don't stab you while you're chopping your vegetables. So sand those, smooth them away nice and smooth. Once you're done sanding and you have a really nice surface to work on, you can then begin painting or dyeing your cubes. I'm gonna start with the black, and I just added a little bit of water to the food coloring and just mixed it around with my brush and made sure there was no more clumps of food dye, and just paint all of the edges black. One thing I did notice is that if you do have a lot of water, it will bleed. So you want to kind of find what works best for you, because you want to try to prevent the bleeding. And also, since we have some glue residue left over on our wood, the black turned a little bit green, but it still looks really nice. I really can't figure out a solution to this, but I'm trying to do everything as safe as possible. So I really wouldn't use any other sort of wood dye. Once the black is dry, I'm then going to get my brown, and I'm going to mix a tiny bit of orange. Actually, it's going to be 1 part brown, 1 part orange, and mix some water in that as well. And we're just going to wash over the board where the medium brown is. So make sure to leave the little corners, the 3 little cubes in the corners, leave those normal wood color because once we put on the conditioner, it will look exactly like the workbench. Once that has dried, we're then going to move on to the brown, and I just used the plain brown dye, mixed it with water. Since this is a little dark brown, I would recommend not using as much water. I wish I would have made mine darker, but it seeps into the wood, so it will be lighter than what you think. Use your picture as a guideline. Once you have all of your wood painted, let it dry overnight. Now that it's completely dry, we're now going to condition our butcher block and get it ready for use. So I'm then going to get a paper towel and I'm going to wipe over this food, mineral oil, and natural waxes all over my board. You're just going to kind of buff it in. Let it sit for 20 minutes. Then once it's sat for 20 minutes, wipe it away and repeat this process for 3 to 4 times. You want to really condition it and prep it and season it for use. Make sure to cover your whole cutting board, even the back, because this is going to prevent water from going into your wood and seeping in and causing expanding. So once you've done that and it's completely dry, you now have yourself a Minecraft Workbench cutting block. I think this is amazing and I cannot wait to use it. I am so excited the way that this turned out. The only thing is I wish the blacks turned out a little more black, but there was really nothing I can do about that without being unsafe. So I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope you guys try it out. Be sure to leave a comment below on what you want me to make for next week's episode. Thank you so much for watching. I am Cupquake and I will see you all later.